I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Sorry for the delay, but TV says technical difficulties. So, but anyway, as always, we always start our meetings off with a word of prayer.
Let us pray. Father God, thank you for letting us gather here tonight. Thank you for this beautiful spring-like day and still in winter. Let us appreciate the gifts you've given us. Thank you for forgiveness of sins and your son dying on the cross. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which is one under liberty and justice for all.
Check our form.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and we'll start.
Okay.
Thank you. We have mine. So one is the folks that brought and the action and the communication for the, but one you're going to hear from all opportunity for action. So I wanted to make sure that's where you were going, but you will take it up in the future. It's not that it's tabled or anything like that, but just that they really wanted the opportunity to hear you all and think through the issues that you might raise tonight. So wanted to make that clear, if that's all right.
I wouldn't do that anyway because I like a little time to digest stuff. I don't digest as quick as I used to, so yeah.
May I clarify something?
Yeah.
And if we do make changes to the ordinance, we will have another public, it will be republished, there will be another public hearing if there are changes made to it.
If it is more restricted, if it's less restricted, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, I mean, once you've held a public hearing, anything that you've advertised, up to what you've advertised, can be acted on.
Right.
So if you, as Mr. Lee said, if you reduce restrictions, you've held a public hearing already.
but if we increase restrictions,
I would recommend another public hearing.
And if I might, Mr. Chair, for those of you who are not familiar, I'm the county administrator. This is Mr. Durbin, who is our county attorney. This is Kim Tito, who's our deputy. And Carla's gonna speak to you in a little bit about, she's our planner. Thank you.
I have one other thing, I wanna correct the spelling of Mr. Durbin's name under 8A. An I instead of an A, to be accurate.
He says as long as you call him for supper, he's all right.
That's the general rule.
We didn't bring any supper, sorry.
So I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second,
Motion is second, any other amendments? Call the roll.
All right, on the motion to approve the agenda as amended, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
yes,
Ms. Bechtel,
yes,
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have the approval of our monthly disbursements. Anybody have any questions or comments? Were you good, Levi?
The other room.
No questions.
Well, I mean,
We're doing that.
that's where we're gonna go.
Did he say something?
Did he say no questions?
No questions,
No
he said.
questions.
Thank you.
Carla, make sure they understand if
please.
they wanna speak, they've gotta sign in.
You have anything on the disbursements?
No, I'm fine.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion, we approve the disbursements as presented.
Second.
Okay,
Motion is second.
all right. All right, on the motion to approve the disbursements as presented, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
thank you, and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right.
Next, we have approval of the minutes for February the 13th. Do you have any comments or questions or corrections?
We're at capacity in here.
You gotta relocate the meeting?
It's down the hall.
If you got no corrections or questions, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion second, call roll.
Sorry, motion who's second?
I was,
Thank
the
you. I
motion.
remember, I saw a question. Thank you. All right, on the motion to approve the minutes for February 13th, 2025 as presented, Ms. Cookenbook,
yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Then I'll open the public hearing for our land division ordinance. There's 3 sign-up sheets, one for land division, one for the regular public hearing, public comment. And the other one was on our changing the tax collection date. So,
And then the general public comment.
let's do that.
Okay.
So with that, I'll turn it over to you and Steve.
Okay. So, again, just to, before we let Mr. Durbin and Carla start, this is your last call for signing up to speak on any of these. And with that, I will grab the sheet for this and we'll hear a
Dr. Millsap?
presentation.
Could you just make sure that everybody in the overflow room, if they want to speak, they've signed up, please? Have you done that?
We told them.
Okay.
I'll do it one more time while Carla's starting. But again, if I might, Mr. Chairman, so this is Carla, and she is our planner. And I gotta tell you, Carla has spent thousands of hours over several years getting us to this point. And no matter what your opinion is of where we are, I really think we all owe her, and I will say as the administrator, I owe her a debt, a huge debt, for the amount of effort that she has put into this. You have no idea.
Thank
So thank you very much, Carla, and I will check on you.
Thank you, Carla.
Her hair was brown when she started.
Okay. We'll see if I can do it this time. Hi, I am glad to finally stand in front of you and present some information on the land division ordinance. First, I would like to go through some steps that we have taken and everyone can see how long we have been working on this. In 2019, the board appointed a 7-person subcommittee to start working on the subdivision ordinance. And of course, in 2020, COVID halted everything. 2021 through 22, the committee resumed work and presented a draft ordinance to the Planning Commission. And in 2023, the Planning Commission held their work sessions, and then they had held a public hearing and recommended the new ordinance to the board. Beginning in January of 2024, the board began holding workshops, made changes to the proposed ordinance, and scheduled this public hearing. So some people ask, why a new ordinance now? The current subdivision ordinance is a complex maze that many people find hard to go through, and it was last fully adopted in 2002. Basically, at that time, it was adopted, a statewide subdivision ordinance was adopted, and we've made some changes to it through the years, but in general, the new proposed land division ordinance is meant to make divisions with few new parcels easier and limit divisions with large numbers of parcels. We also need to address the housing shortage through small-scale development, and we want to guard against mega developments, which are technically allowed now. So why the name change? The word subdivision was confusing for a lot of property owners. They come to talk to me and I said, you want to do a subdivision? And they say, no, I just want to cut off an acre of land or 2 acres of land. I don't want to build a housing development. And, I would explain to them subdivision is just a division of land. And during this process, it was decided that we would change that to what it really closely fits more to the Code of Virginia, which is simply for the orderly division of land. Some key features of the proposed land division ordinance. Pre-perking will no longer be required, meaning that no health department approval will be required for plat approval. Health department approval will still be required before obtaining a building permit. A survey of the residual parcel will no longer be required in most cases. Surveying could cost a lot of money for a farmer that has a 500-acre land that just wants to cut off 2 acres to be able to sell. We've taken that into consideration, and so we're doing away with, propose to do away with the survey and of the remainder. Currently, if you have we do not allow shared septic fields, drain fields. So if you do a division, each lot has to have their own. The new proposal is that easements will be allowed for those septic systems. And a lot of questions that I've had over the years is, why does my lot have to be deeper than it is wide? And after discussion, the board has decided that rather than being deeper than wide, that it has to be a minimum depth. It can be as wide as you want, but it has to be at least as deep as what the required width that the setback is. Most of the time, the required width of the setback is 175 feet, so that means that the lot would have to be at least 175 feet deep. Reduced lot sizes will be available if a private centralized water system and a private centralized wastewater system is planned. Currently, if you're on PSA water or sewer, you can have a half an acre. If you have both of them, you can have an acre. That will stay, you can have a quarter of an acre. That will stay the same. For private centralized water systems or private centralized wastewater systems, if you have one or the other, what is being proposed is 1 acre. And if you have both, it would be 1/2 acre. In the proposed ordinance, townhouse divisions will be allowed on private centralized water systems. They're currently allowed only on PSA water. Another change is that I will be able to review and approve plats up to 6 parcels, including the residual lot. Currently, I can review 3 lots. If there's more than 3 lots, then it has to go to the planning commission. The planning commission would only review 7 or more lots. In order to allow that small-scale development and to try to discourage the mega development, any division that is served by a private individual water system, a well, is limited to 10 new lots. That includes the residual. So if you have a division, if you submit a plat and they're all gonna have private wells, they won't have to be located on the plat because we're not gonna require that for the health department, but you will only be able to submit 10 lots. Any division served by a private centralized water system is now limited to 10 new lots, including the residual lots. One of the key changes for this ordinance is to allow divisions off of private division roads. Currently, all divisions have to be on a state-maintained road, with the exception of agricultural or family divisions. Private division roads will have to be built to specifications that are listed in the ordinance, and they cannot serve more than 10 lots per intersection with a public road. Any division on an existing public road is limited to 10 new lots, including the residual lot. And if someone were to create a new public road after the adoption of this ordinance, it cannot serve more than 10 new lots, including the residual lot, unless it connects to another public road. Currently, if someone were to build a VDOT standard road, you could have unlimited 1 acre lots. And the proposed ordinance takes that to 2 acres and limits it to 10 lots. I wanted to give an example of a subdivision that was done, had to be done, and what proposed. So this particular one, 85 acres, lots, 2 and 3 have state road frontage, which is required 25 acre lot in the back, and they're only a 50-foot right of way. So that is how the developer did this particular lot. They all access the property off of that right of way, even though the 3 have frontage. But this was allowed. Under the proposed ordinance, if that 50-foot right-of-way is turned into a private division road, which it would have to be brought up to the standards in the ordinance, then they would be able to have up to 10 lots on that road. In this example, 1, 2, and 3 again have public road frontage, but they choose to access that private division road, so they count towards those 10 lots. So as you can see, the lots, there are more lots available. They can have, this shows 9 lots. The difference between a right-of-way and a public division road is the right-of-way goes across people's land. A private division road will have to be a lot by itself. It will have to be owned, constructed, maintained, and operated by a property owners association. The county would not be involved with that at all. So this shows the same acreage, but it has 2 private division roads. And so they were, and this shows 10 lots because they have that second private division road. Lots 8 and 9 were able to be split. The difference here is that even though there's 2 private division roads, they can only have a maximum of 10 lots because they only have 1 intersection with a VDOT road. So no matter how many roads they build in that to be able to subdivide off of, they cannot subdivide, they cannot have more than 10 lots unless they add another VDOT connection. That's it for my presentation, but I will be glad to answer any questions
From the board.
from the board that you may have, or you wish me to speak on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Levi,
Very well
do you have
explained.
any questions for Carla?
No questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr.
Let me read my disclaimer for it is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of handicap and conditions, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made. So Dr. Millsap will call the names of the people that speaks. Limit your comments to 4 minutes. If you have additional comments or questions after the 4 minutes, you can give them to staff and we'll make sure that we get them and you get an answer. And this is a one-way conversation. We're here to listen to what you all have to say.
And if I might, so just as I was reminded, there's a couple more people that came in, so if anybody came to speak to this and you just came in and you haven't had an opportunity to sign up, this is kind of the speak now, sign up now, or forever hold your peace. So I'm gonna start down the list. But there's some folks that have come into the other room, so I wanna, and out in the hallway, just make sure they had an opportunity. Anybody? Wait for the delay. There is a delay. There's nothing nefarious. It has to actually go to space and come back. So sorry. And it does take a minute. Anybody coming? No? Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, with that, if I might, the first person to speak is Ms. Tanya Vidovic from 432 Run It Bag Road in Little River District. She was the first person here too, I will say.
That looks like somebody wants to speak.
Come out here, I'll come out in the hallway. So
Hi, thank you for having the meeting and holding it for us to be able to speak. So I just want to say that moving from an area that did this land division with divided private roads, and I can speak from what happened and what I saw happen with it with a word of caution and moving forward, it created a small amount of main roads and the subdivisions created a lot of dead ends so that everybody had to use the main roads. So when you increase the density, it creates more traffic, it destroys the roads that are there, and then it ends up needing widening because of the traffic. There's an increase in taxes to cover this. The large developers end up buying huge lots, making the local land unaffordable, and they end up cutting down a lot of the trees in order to make these lots clear for development. So the three things that I think need to be considered in this ordinance, or more than three, but these are the three that I would like to talk on, is that we would need a tree protection or preservation ordinance, so developers can only cut down a certain percentage of trees and not clear cut entire lots, because we are in a temperate rainforest and we need to be able to protect our tree canopy. So making sure that they can only cut down the trees needed to do this development, I think needs to be addressed. I think that from what I saw, the aftermath of the developers coming in and developing is that they need to be charged for the cost increases that are gonna happen. The increase in density, the road maintenance, the increase in trash and electrical demand, the increase in the students that are in these school districts, and also the emergency management. Because with that, you are gonna be needing to increase not only police department personnel, but fire department personnel, more stations, more staff, more vehicles. So I saw where I came from, the city was left on the hook for all of these increases, and the subdivisions, there was hours of stopped traffic, and the fire department, even though it was a mile away, there was so much traffic, it would take 20 minutes to get there. I mean, and I'm sure that's just not safe for people, so making sure that these are in consideration. Also, I would like to say that the people who stand to most likely financially gain from this ordinance, from the division of these subdivisions that are going to be making money off of this, like real estate agents, we have 2 on the board, they should need to recuse themselves from this decision because it is a conflict of interest. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, the next person that has signed up is John Hilton from Willis.
Unless I miss my mark, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Unless I miss my mark, if we're able to subdivide our properties more with this new ordinance, our taxes are gonna go up again at the next assessment. Because now, instead of having a 1 acre lot that I have now that I can't subdivide, I don't want to, but I can't. Now I'm gonna be sitting on 2 lots. You already doubled my taxes, or what it's valued at now. A 1 acre lot's $44,000. We've seen what happened to Reiner in the last few years. Can Floyd's roads handle that? 750, 787, 740. I don't think the roads are really up to that. They're in terrible shape now. I run them every day in one of the garbage trucks. Roads are in horrible shape. Fire departments and rescue squad are both rather short on funds, on equipment. And we're wanting to bring in how many more people with this development, or these developments that are subject to happen? I would strongly say, and anyone that agrees with me, please repeat this. If y'all wish to pursue this, this needs to go on a ballot and let the people decide in November. Much like the other lady said, out of 5 people, there are several people here that are subject to profit from this. And kind of makes you wonder if it might not cloud their judgment a little bit. Let the folks decide. This is our home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. Next is Gerald Vest from the Chick area.
Well, on this subject, I think those 2 have pretty much said what needs to be said about it. But my concern is the rescue squads. I got one 2 miles from my house sitting there empty. And so if I fall out with a heart attack, or anybody, or when we put more people in these subdivisions, we can't, I mean, people are gonna lay down and die. I've seen so many lives saved over the years. I've been in this county for almost 68 years. And there's been so many lives saved by our volunteers that come, get no pay, they do it out of the goodness of their heart. And now we've done away with them. So the ones on the other end of the county, Willis, Indian Valley, and Check, where I live, we're gonna have to wait till Floyd gets there. And my understanding is there's not enough people up here. If they got another call or two, we may not get anybody. So I just can't imagine why or how or what the reasoning is behind doing away with our rescue squad people that we had trained, that's done excellent job over the years to save people's lives here in the county. And now we just done away with it. It's not right. It's wrong. I hope some other people feel the same way about it. There's a lot of old people in this county.
So next, Mr. Chairman, is Candace Quisenberry, Indian Valley District.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Indian Valley. I've lived here for 43 years. My husband's family, both of our families are from Floyd County, many generations back. But, you know, our concern is this is a safe place to raise our children. It's a beautiful place. We have all the beautiful farms and the back roads, and it's just, it's a unique place that I don't think many places still exist like this. But whether we've lived here our whole lives or the people that's been drawn here by our beauty and our safety, is if we allow all these, I guess, extra homes to be built, what makes us unique will either quickly or slowly disappear. We won't have the beautiful farms, the land, the safety. We'll have a lot of we'll have a lot of crowding, a lot of people, like I said, our roads, our schools. We're just concerned, we'd like to keep it safe and, I guess, beautiful and not so crowded.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Bobby Quisenberry with a very similar address in Indian Valley.
I just wrote my name down.
Okay.
I wasn't really talking.
Okay, so you don't need to spell it.
I just wrote it down because I thought I was supposed to.
Right. Then next is Joshua Booth.
Yes, my name is Joshua Booth. I'm a resident of the Courthouse District. I would like to thank the committee, the board, the planning commission, and Carla for all of their work on what I feel is a much-needed revision to our subdivision ordinance. Sort of the top four items that Carla mentioned, the pre-perking requirement, the residual survey, additions of easements, and the lot size requirement having to be deeper than it is wide. I agree that all of those should be done away with and changed. I have recently went through a scenario through the old subdivision ordinance where the heirs of a farm decided to keep the farmland but sell the farmhouse. The former subdivision cost me about $25,000 extra by the purchase of an additional acre of land and about $2,000 to the sellers for all of the other requirements from the previous division. The result was that an extra acre of Floyd County farmland was taken out of farming and put into a residential lot. The exact opposite of one of the stated goals of the subdivision ordinance. I would like the board to consider that any existing structure with an existing private well or septic system would be allowed under a 1 acre division instead of the 2 acre division. This would also fall under the agriculture division as well. There are a lot of farmers in Floyd County who want to pass the farm on to their heirs, their children. The farmhouse oftentimes becomes a source of revenue for those heirs, and I don't think it's right. They should have to sell an additional acre of the farm just because the subdivision ordinance lumps an existing structure in with new lots that are gonna be created. That was my main point after listening. I also would like to add that I think the 10 new building lots on a private division road seems very arbitrary. I may be missing something, but why not 8 or why not 12 or why not 14? According to the new regulations, a private water and private septic system could be allowed for up to 15 or more. So I'm not sure if that example Carla used, where they were 10 divisions, it seems like that could have been 15 if they were on a private system. But I may be missing something with why the number 10 on a private road instead of another number. I also agree that the subdivision agent should be allowed to review plats up to 6 parcels. Again, in my previous example of what I went through, we had to wait almost 3 months for the planning commission to meet after a couple of canceled meetings to approve a farm plat that was very simple in my opinion. I think that's all I have, and I thank the board and the planning commission for all their work so far.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Mr. Jack Wall in the Little River District.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm Jack Wall from Little River District. It says over here, to grow is to prosper. Floyd has been quite heavily limited in ability to grow because we have very restrictive ordinances on land use. So I'm pleased with the changes that are here. I'm not sure if they go quite far enough. We did go through a assessment that all of us have experienced just recently, and we all learned that property values, housing values have gone up significantly. We all know that to be true. It's becoming unaffordable to live in Floyd for a lot of people. It's a supply and demand situation. We just don't have enough housing. There's not particularly enough rental housing. I'm a little bit concerned about the changes for the townhouse division ordinance, going to only 7 units per acre. I know that's not gonna come into play a whole lot, but that is very restrictive. When you're working on, and townhouses could be an important area to get a little more density, to provide a little more affordability for our citizens. We've got a lot of folks as a business owner trying to hire people, trying to find housing. There are a lot of people that want to come to Floyd, and I know we're trying to restrict that somewhat, but we do need more people to come to Floyd, particularly workers who can meet some of the labor demands that we have. But there's just not a lot of housing here, and from the developers, it's just really too expensive. Of course, housing construction is very expensive now, but when you have these kind of restrictions on development, so I think the ordinance is in the right direction, but I do think there could be a few changes in terms of the density allowed for, like the townhouse ordinance. I think is something I'm concerned about, but I'm just hoping, and I'd like to encourage the opportunity for somewhat more development to occur, because supply and demand is a real problem here. Not enough supply for the number of people that would like to live in the county, and we haven't really grown very much in the last several years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm struggling a little with the next one. So Darrell, and I believe the last name starts with an E, on Floyd Highway South in Floyd? Okay, thank you. If you would, when you come up, state your name a little louder, so when we write the minutes, we can get it right. Thank you.
My name is Darrell Edward Underwood. I have property in all through 4 districts. And the way I look at it is, if we divide it up like the land ordinance is, our taxes is gonna go up a lot higher. And I think that it ought to be voted on by the whole county. Everybody in the county needs to vote on this. I mean, it's not up to 5 individuals to vote on this. It ought to be everybody in the whole county. That would be fair to everybody that's at this meeting, people that didn't know about this meeting. I didn't find out about it till 2 days ago. So it's a lot of people did not know about this meeting because they don't work in the county. And it is going to put a tremendous strain on the rescue squads, the fire departments, and everything else. The State Department to keep up with the roads. So that's all I got to say. Thank y'all.
Sir. Thank you. All right. Oh, guess you're doing it again. Jeremy. Night Sky Drive? I don't wanna do it in. Sorry.
Good evening, my name is Jeremy Uwanawansana, and I was a former member of the Planning Commission, represented the Little River District. And during my interview for the Planning Commission, the board asked me, you all asked me, what I thought the purpose of was for the Planning Commission. And my response was, I believe that it was to limit chaos while respecting property owners' rights as much as possible. And I believe that the ordinance that I had the privilege of working on does that. I think that this is good for property owners. If they don't want to divide, they don't have to. That's their choice. It's everybody's choice what they want to do with their property. And I think that this takes away restrictions that are right now tighter on property owners currently in the county. So I believe that this is a less restrictive move for property owners, and if they want to divide, absolutely can. If they want to keep their 50 acres all in one parcel, absolutely can. I think that we open it up to the county for that. My biggest concern when we were going through this whole process was water. Through listening to and hearing from several different experts, soil conservation, or soil experts, well diggers, water experts, those concerns were assuaged. They were gone. Our recharge rate will cover a huge growth in population, more than what we're even considering while looking at these changes. Right now, I have 9 children, and I don't believe a single one of them will be able to live in Floyd in the near future without major changes to the way we handle things with the cost of our property. That can only be done through the division ordinances by loosening restrictions that are set against property owners. I appreciate all your time. I appreciate Carla's hard work on this. All of the subdivision committee. It was a long time in the making, and it's a lot of hard work. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Shirley Ann Burgess. She's in the other room. So.
Hello, thank you for having us here tonight and all the good work you do. My biggest concern with this, Shirley Ann Burgess, and I'm on the Beaver Creek and the Little River. I moved here because of the water. So that is a concern of mine. In the years I've been here, 29 years, I have seen many droughts and wells dry up. So my concern is how we address the new subdivisions, the demand on the local aquifers. If you're putting up a division above me, someone sells that land and they're on the same aquifer as I am on, we can create a cone depression. or my water's gonna dry up. So I'd like to see that addressed. And we have had several droughts. I mean, last year I could only get on the river once with a kayak without having to walk it down. And everything, goes out of here, nothing's coming in. I do water testing for the New River Conservancy, and I do it for, and put in my data on a Google sheet, so they have it for years to come. And so far, things in the Beaver Creek look pretty good. E. coli is really low, pH is good, the oxygen levels are great, and I'd like to see it stay that way for future generations. So, I'd like you to consider that. Thank you.
Next is Eli Schwartz Gralla, who I also believe is in the other room. And Quinn is behind him. You Quinn? No, okay.
With her dad.
Okay, with her dad. Thank you.
Arm delay.
It's quicker than I am, I'm gonna have to speak up.
Do you wanna go first or second? All right. Good evening, my name is Eli Schwartz Gralla, and I'm gonna do my best to stay under 4 minutes because I thought I had 5. I wanted to thank, what's that? District, I'm in Czech, sorry. I want to thank all those that have been working on the project for years. My comments are not meant in any way to be disrespectful for all the work that has been done. And I personally know I have not done my part in being involved enough during this process because I have too many unanswered questions at this late date. I am concerned for the future of Floyd County. I ask you all to think about what brought you here, if you moved here, or if you were born here, what made you want to stay? For me, water is one of the first and foremost concerns, as for a lot of people. I feel like more houses closer together, shared wells, the chances of going deeper and draining your neighbor's well goes way up. What happens when those wells go dry? Does the developer pay for it? Does the farmer who's lived there a long time and needs to water his cattle, or the old family who's lived on their farm for generations and may or may not have the money to pay for it, do they pay for that well? Or is it the developer's responsibility? How do we deal with water? And I know that coming up, we're going to get more information on March 25th about the water, and I hope that the board considers waiting on any vote and heeding any information that comes in. It's just a first layer of understanding that will come in with that report. And drought times have come and they really affect things, so we got to be careful. Also, the beauty of this place is really important to me and to many of us. We don't want to look around and see housing developments and golf courses that look like any other place you might travel or go. I think that there is an effort being made to limit the size of those developments, and I appreciate that, but I don't think it goes far enough. And I think that we're leaving some big open doors. I have heard more than once from a couple of the Board of Supervisors and others that we're hoping that the prohibitive cost of private central water or sewer or private road divisions are going to stop something from happening. I don't think the cost of something is going to stop anybody. People are going to move here with money and they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to sell those lots for as much as they need to cover their costs and more. Secondly, there's this idea that we've removed the wait time that used to have to be waited between divisions. It used to be, I think, 5 years between one division and the next on a property. If that wait time is removed, why are we doing that? For one, and for two, if we're gonna do it, then what we're opening the door for is, yeah, maybe there's a 10-lot limit. But as soon as that land sells, somebody can divide those lots again. They can divide that parcel again. So it may not be the intention, but I think we need to strongly consider what loopholes we leave. And if the cost of something is gonna prohibit something, or if we're hoping that they won't do it, that's not a good excuse. We need to make sure they can't do it if we don't want it done in Floyd County. More and more people want to move here, and they're going to find ways to develop to do that. I've heard more affordable housing, and I will say I think that is a huge need in Floyd County. I own rental property with others here in Floyd, and it is really hard to build anything and be able to cover your cost of that construction. Forget the cost of the land, just the building. So if we think that reducing the size of a lot, therefore reducing the price in the short term of that lot, is going to make a big difference, I think we're wrong, because that's a small portion of the cost of building that end house that we want somebody to live in. If we want to provide housing for people that's affordable, we need to subsidize it. We need to figure out a way to provide housing that works for people at the income level they're at. Not a housing development that is gated and a big community with expensive houses and expensive water and road systems. And there is more, but I guess I've run out of time. So
You can
my
let
apologies
staff
and thank
have
you
it
all.
and they can forward it to us.
I can borrow some of your time.
No.
Say your name, your district.
So my name is Quinn. I am 12 years old and I was born and raised in Czech. I have lived here in Floyd all my life and love how unpopulated it is here. I've always felt that I live in the most beautiful place on earth. Whenever I travel, I enjoy the places I am, for the most part, but I always look forward to coming home. One thing that I always miss when I travel is the darkness and the stars. There isn't much light pollution here in Floyd, but that could easily change if the population increases. Another thing that I miss when I travel is the water. The water here is clean and good tasting. As more and more houses are built, wells and springs will dry up. Even though most of us don't want that to happen, as housing population increases, the likelihood becomes greater. When we drive along the roads throughout Floyd, I love to look out the car window. When I do, I see beautiful fields and rolling hills. If subdivision becomes easier, then some of those fields will become housing complexes and gated communities. Have you thought about what it will be like for my generation, or just your generation and the money brought in by it? Do you intend Floyd to look like Christiansburg, Virginia in the coming years?
Thank you, Quinn. Next is Tony Lambert, Little River District.
Hi. I have a list of 10 concerns put in the form of questions that my friend Alta Pickford actually wrote but couldn't make it here today, and I'm totally stand behind these same ones, so I'm bringing them to you from her. The first one, does this make it easier to develop smaller pieces of land? And by the way, many of these things have already been brought up, but 2, does this remove the restriction that a certain amount of road frontage is needed to sell a plot of land? 3, does this mean that more houses can be built on top of the mountains where they mar the view from below? 4, will we lose the wild places to development? 5, what about a potential water shortage with too many wells? 6, what about road maintenance and garbage removal with increased development? 7, is the increase in assessed property value going to increase the sale of land to developers? 8, is it a conflict of interest that 2 of our supervisors are real estate agents? 9, why hasn't the public been involved in the planning of major changes to our land development? And 10, yes, we need more housing, but for the people already here, not for a big influx of outsiders creating higher taxes. Thank you. And this is the, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please, thank you. Next is David Grimsley, Little River. And if I might, while Mr. Grimsley's coming up, if you have notes or written comments that you would like us to make copies of and make available to the board, we'll be happy to do that. Ms. Carla just went to go make copies of them.
Hi, I'm David Grimsley, Little River District. I'm also on the Planning Commission, newly appointed. And when I was interviewing for the position, I brought up water as my major concern within the position of being in the Planning Commission. I'm very concerned, the fact that we are one of 2 counties in the country without an aquifer, above ground, a reservoir, concerns me. Not that I'm saying that we should develop one, but it means that we have a very finite resource. I'm very much interested in the sustainability of Floyd and want to make sure that all of our bases are covered as we move forward with the decisions we're about to make. I do also agree with Mr. Schwartz-Gralla that we should wait until after the water study comes out before any decision is made. I think that's incredibly important for the public to know what our finite resource looks like. I've heard it's bad news. So with that, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grimsley. Next is Jeff Walker, Little River District.
Good evening, Jeff Walker, Little River. I've had the privilege of speaking to some of y'all before in official capacities about water and about wastewater. Most of you know I'm licensed to interact with the health department on behalf of clients who are wanting to develop their property. The existing ordinance is an albatross around our necks. It is an infringement on our property rights. I am stunned and amazed that we still labor under this ordinance. And I encourage you to revise it at your earliest convenience. While this ordinance is not perfect, and I've offered some criticism of details to Carla as the subdivision agent in a written form, I want to encourage you as quickly as possible to cut your ties with perking a lot before it is approved for subdivision. I've got 3 kids. None of them currently live in Floyd. And that's not just because of land resources. I've got 15 acres, I've owned another property as well. That's not the issue. It's the fact that we have stifled enterprise in this county. We have stopped people from being able to effectively plan for and develop their property. And most of us here, with a few exceptions, are small landowners and small contractors, and we recognize our responsibility to our clients and also to our neighboring joiners, the contiguous properties. There are aspects of this ordinance which conflict with state law. There were also examples in the prior ordinance which conflicted, and the only reason they weren't challenged in court was because they favored realtors and developers. And that is part of why we are dealing with a much increased base rate on land value, because the cost of creating those lots is much higher in Floyd County than it is in Patrick, even Franklin, Montgomery, or Carroll. And the reality is, when people have to spend more to approve that lot on an evaluator like myself, on a survey, and various interactions back and forth with a very vague and ambiguous document, that cost gets passed on to the next landowner. So I'm going to close with, if you have an interest in speaking to me about the issues which I see with legal challenges to the ordinance, I'm available, but I do want to encourage you as quickly as possible to adopt this ordinance or make the small nuances of change necessary to get this government off our backs. Thank you.
Next is Saran McCarthy.
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you, sorry. Saran?
Well, Saran sounds good too.
Sarah, okay, I'll fix that here, thank you.
Yeah, Fairview Church Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you for having us here to hear our opinions. My view is a little bit simplistic as I'm just learning all the details of this, and I do really appreciate everybody's work on this. I know this is years of thought and planning. I'm a resident of Floyd for 25 years. I moved to these hills for the rural lifestyle the quiet and the farming community. And I love this land for its beautiful, just the beauty, the meadows, the acres of forest and wildland. Just before I came here, I was cycling. I'm an avid cyclist. I'm out 4 to 5 times a week. Some of my favorite roads are Rush Fork, Springdale, Tuckles Gap, roads with so much beauty, so much forest, just wide, wide land. And I'm worried about it. I'm worried about the subdivision idea. We don't need more Roanoaks or Blacksburgs and Christiansburgs. They have their beauty in what they are, and I really want to preserve this land, and I think we need to be really careful about this subdivision idea. We do have a housing shortage. I don't have an answer, but I appreciate all the effort that's gone into this. I'm not into subdivisions. I think we need to be really, really careful. I just want to keep Floyd wild and beautiful. It's so, so precious. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm afraid to try again. Carl? Thank you, Carl.
That's good, Carl's good enough. My name's Carl Slyboom and I live in the Little River District. And what I just heard the lady say was pretty much how I feel too. Floyd is beautiful and I would hate to see more housing developments ruin what makes it special. I've seen it happen in 2 or 3 other areas of the country where I've lived, where real estate developers came in to this beautiful area, and then what made it appealing and made people want to move there in the first place, it was gone, and they weren't able to. It was not appealing anymore. I mean, there was just houses everywhere where there were, fields and woods and sun. So I think I do appreciate all the work that you all have put into this, and I'm hoping that, I think it would probably be best, I think the gentleman has said to put it on a ballot. I totally agree with that. I think it would be good for the Floyd County citizens to vote.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Paul Kitchen is next. I believe he's in the other room.
Yeah.
Good evening, Paul Kitchen, Little River District. Good to see you all again, and thank you for all the hard work and contributions you do in support of our wonderful community. Grow and prosper. It's a balance. Yes, we need to grow in certain areas. There are certain types of housing that this community needs. Certainly more affordable housing, access to rental properties, carefully managed growth. Not mega subdivisions with expensive housing consuming resources. In order to prosper, we need to make sure that we balance everything with the resources that we have. Whether they're the natural resources of water, trees, air, which remain as they are today. I just came from 4 days in Charlotte. I was so happy to get back here because I couldn't taste the air anymore. Because those communities, those areas have grown and become so dense, so much traffic, so many people, that it was difficult to breathe. I thought, what's wrong? I got back to Floyd and I immediately felt better because I was inhaling clean, fresh air. One of those natural resources which is so important to our community. Water, you've heard it multiple times. Back in the 1980s, there was a huge drought and there were more than 400 applications for new wells or deepening wells because water is scarce. Please don't make any moves until you know exactly where we are with our natural resources. It's so, so important. And that will help us to prosper. If we are a wonderful, vibrant community and we connect the way that we connect today and we keep our culture intact, we make it wonderful for everybody. Careful, careful growth. That's my message. And I agree with those that have spoke previously about moving this to a decision by the citizens of our community and putting it on the ballot in November as for us to decide as a whole. So thank you very much. Appreciate everything that you do for me. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Robert McCabe, Little River. McNabb, sorry, McNabb.
I'm in the Little River District, and I guess at first I came in here, my concern was kind of selfish because I subdivided and gave my son some land it's 5 years ago this month. And then COVID hit, and I want to keep 5 acres myself now, sell my house and the rest of the farm, and just put in an RV. But I can't do it because it didn't go through the county process until September. So I guess now I'm thinking the 5-year wait is not a bad idea. I mean, it slows down development. And I'm hearing all this concern about subdivisions, and I see that as more a commercial opportunities for people to come in and subdivide. I'm just a private landowner that wants to keep a little bit of land and move, retire somewhere else and then come back and visit. And I've got all that worked out, had it surveyed and all that, but that's, if I could get some favoritism, I'd say, can y'all say it's okay since it was surveyed in February and it's been 5 years, but I don't want any special favors. I mean, I really sitting here listening to all this, I really think y'all need to be careful. And I sold a horse once up in the Rappahannock County. They were on the ball. You couldn't build there unless it was an original house site. So that slowed down a lot of what was happening around Rappahannock County. So that might be something to consider in the long run too. I don't know. But that's just my 2 cents. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, Mr. Chair, and the last person I have signed up is Deborah Tomei? Tomei?
My name's Deborah Tome. I'm in the courthouse district. I moved to Floyd in '98. One of the concerns I've heard a lot of citizens say is that water is a concern. Totally agree with that. Urge you to wait until the water study comes out so that we know what resource we're dealing with. I wanted to share with you my experience growing up in Frederick County, Maryland. Frederick County, Maryland, when I was young, was all farmland. They relaxed the restrictions on subdivision while I was a teenager. By the time I was leaving for college, a lot of the farms in Frederick County had to be sold off because their land taxes had gone up too much for them to continue farming, and they were all subdivisions. I understand that we need more housing, and it's a complicated issue, but I would urge you to deeply consider the ramifications in the future for the farmers in Floyd County and our water before you make any decisions. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that is the last person that signed up to speak on the land division ordinance.
Okay, if there's no other speakers, then I will declare comment closed, or the public hearing closed.
I might add 1 or 2 comments, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Did you to Roger?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add 2 things as county attorney. Ms. Turman.
So if we might, the folks that are, heading out, we are having challenges with the elevator. So if people need to exit, they need to go out that direction.
I'm glad it was going down instead up.
Yes. So sorry, we just says people start, as soon as you start heading out.
Elevator safety takes precedence over anything I've got to say.
Thank you.
Says the attorney.
ladies and gentlemen, you have before you a proposed comprehensive overhaul of the county's ordinance governing division of land within the county. Under the Code of Virginia, Section 15.2, 2240, the governing body of every locality shall adopt an ordinance to assure the orderly subdivision of land and its development. This is a mandatory requirement of state law. Now, you've got an ordinance, but it was adopted many years ago and been amended from time to time in sort of a piecemeal fashion, which leads to some anachronistic results. So I think it's important that you update the ordinance. I'm not telling you what provisions to adopt, but I think it is, it's time to do a comprehensive cleanup of the ordinance that you've got. You've heard a lot of good comments, a lot of good food for thought from the citizens tonight. I'd be happy to discuss that with the board members, with staff, what's possible, what's beyond the ability of the county to do. I've heard some talk about a holding period, a 5-year moratorium. You subdivide, and then you have to wait a period of years before you can re-subdivide. That's a very limited circumstance, only with family subdivisions in some cases. There's no general authority to say once Mr. Smith does a subdivision and sells that off, he must wait an additional 5 years. That's not an authority that we do have. And additionally, unlike some states, Virginia is highly restrictive in what can be put on a ballot for referendum. Only topics specifically authorized by statute can be put on the ballot. And I'll quote from Virginia Code Section 24.2, 684. No referendum shall be placed on the ballot unless specifically authorized by statute or by charter. So Floyd County doesn't have a charter, so we have to find a specific statute that would enable that. I'm not aware of any provision that would allow us to put the subdivision ordinance to the voters, which is my way of saying, unfortunately, I think you're stuck with this. It's your decision.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll try to be helpful.
And he's gonna charge you for that.
There you go.
Charge you for it too.
Just speaking for myself, I've heard a lot of really great comments tonight. It's sort of balanced out. I'm a landowner, I know how I feel, I want it for my kids. I keep that in mind, but I gotta think for the greater good of the county too, so that puts another little burden on it, so I'm sure that all of us feel the same way. We wanna keep Floyd County as beautiful as it is, and if it's gonna grow slow. We've been able to do that over the years, and I was privileged to be born and raised here, and I just went back there. I've been here about 76 years, so I got a stake in it. Go ahead.
So one thing I'd like to clarify, which is one of the reasons why we changed the name of this ordinance does not encourage subdivisions that we all think of, with planned communities. This actually makes it harder to do congested housing development. One of the reasons why it seems like it's easier is it's much easier to read this ordinance, but if you can pick apart the old one, it's really easy to do high density housing with very minimal restrictions. So the Planning Commission agonized to make it restrictive, yet still respect people's property rights. It's a hard balance. And we, like stated at the beginning, we are not voting on this tonight. We are waiting for the water study to come out for us to digest it. There is no vote tonight on this. And if we do make changes that are more restrictive, there'll be another public hearing. It will be available to the people. But all 5 of us want what's best for the county. We all have to share this water. And all of us realize how significant this resource is. So no, none of us want Montgomery County or Reiner or any of that happening here, but you have to really understand that that's our priority. The subdivision ordinance, that was a name from the state, which is why we changed it to land division, because it doesn't encourage those planned communities like everybody's afraid of. Thank you.
I know many of you think that because I'm a realtor, that somehow I want Floyd to change. If you ask anybody at this dais, or anybody that has been involved in the discussions, I am probably one of the most land conservative of anyone discussing this land division ordinance. Yes, I make a living as a realtor. I also have like 4 or 5 other jobs. But it is not my intention to change Floyd in any way that's going to be detrimental to its natural beauty or to its natural resources. Unfortunately, I wasn't born here, but I have spent 43 years in this county. My children have been raised in this county. One is still around. The other 2 have left. One is in Christiansburg, the other is out of state. But this land and this county mean the world to me. And I just want to be put on the record as saying, you do not have a bigger advocate for control and protection of Floyd County land than Linda DeVito Cookenbuck.
Levi, do you have anything to say?
No. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I would just like to say too, I appreciate everyone's public comments. I also am interested in the water study. I've lived here my entire life. I do sell real estate as my living. I'm also a farmer. I've in my real estate job, if somebody says they want to subdivide something, that's my job. But I can tell you with assurance on a personal level, I have never took a property that I own and subdivided it for sale. Matter of fact, I've done the opposite. I took a farm that had been busted up into 5 or 6 tracts and put it back as one piece that I currently farm. So agriculture is a big deal to me, and I'd like to see Floyd County keep its current beauty that I have grown up with. And I apologize for my voice. Thank you.
I'll just say, I'm from farming stock, going all the way back to the 1700s here in Floyd. So there's nothing I care more about than farmland and property owner rights. And it's a fine line. I had a cousin that served on this board, and he every time a dreaded Z word would come up, he had this little thought. He said, as long as I can do what I want to on my property but control my neighbors, then it'll be fine. We're very limited, and I still believe today from most of the people I talk to, we are an anti-Z county still. So we have to use these ordinances to try and strike a balance. I've sat on this board through many of these, and we've made some mistakes, as Mr. Walker pointed out, and we've done some good. And I really think, minus seeing the water study, in some ways I think this is better, and I think you're right. it's easier to understand. We've had some attorneys in the past that like to use a lot of what I call legalese. His face will turn red because he knows I fuss at him about that. And I know it has to be a certain amount, but we wanted this ordinance as plain, so just anybody picking it up can read it and say, oh, this is what that means. Without having to go to the dictionary, without having to go to the Code of Virginia, without having to call our attorney's office and what's going on here? And we have simplified it about as much as it can be, I think. You may disagree, but that was the intent behind this as much as anything, was to simplify what we had so that anybody picking it up could understand it. If you've looked at our current ordinance, well, not this one, but the current ordinance, you sometimes can go in a circle and still not know what you're doing. I mean, and sometimes staff, I mean, we have great staff, but sometimes they have to scratch their head and call this gentleman and say, what exactly is that saying? That's what we wanted to get rid of. We want it so that anybody picking it up can read it and understand it. And we do have a housing problem. Now, whether you use, what term you use on it, whether it's workforce or whether it's affordable, whatever, we do have a housing shortage in this county. We've heard it from our industry, we've heard it from our school, we've heard it from our businesses. We're trying to strike a balance that will address some of that, but not open the county wide open. I hate Reiner. Not the people, but the looks of it. It's just like on tourism. I don't want us to turn into Gatlinburg either. You know, we're trying to strike a happy medium here, and like I said, like it's been said before, I'm really interested in what this water study has to say. I hope it's much more useful than the one we had back in the 90s. And I won't go no further on that because I might get sued, but then I'll hush up.
One other example, you're talking about water. I'm interested to see what that water study says too, because you know, I got a small herd of cattle, but I've got them on 4 different places. And they Tuesday, so it'd been Saturday, I was noticing 2 of the farms got a lot of bottom land. And when I was driving across it, I mean, I was splashing water and leaving tracks where the cleats of the tractor was digging up. And I thought, man, it's gonna be April before I can even do anything over here. Today, when I went to feed, I could have drove across there with my truck and never spun a wheel. I mean, it was done dry. And even the road, the dust was blowing up. So I told my wife when I got home, I said, boy, the land is thirsty. Because, I mean, it soaked that water up just like that. So I'd be glad to see the water study, and I keep that in mind when we're doing this stuff. I was born and raised on a farm. I'm blessed to still have a farm. And it really bothers me to see the way the land is changing right now. So with that, I'll shut up too.
So, I guess we'll move to the next item. Did you want to give if folks wanted to leave, give everybody
Want to leave, to leave.
You're welcome to stay for the other items, but if you wanted to leave, this might be a good time.
What's on there?
Yes, thank you. And you'll need to take the steps.
Yeah.
This is tax date.
Sod, if I'm gonna shut up and say anything else.
Go buy a lottery ticket.
Virginia doesn't allow us to put a
Let's see, would you put your name on there? So
on a referendum. Because Virginia law says only specific topics are allowed to be put on a ballot.
Okay, great. Okay.
In other states,
Thank you.
there's a lot more freedom for
Have a good day.
the ballot.
And it will be
No, you can't comment on it, as far as I know.
Let's move on to our next,
Oh, you're doing the next thing,
public
okay.
hearing, which will be on our tax rate change ordinance.
Date, not rate.
Date, I'm sorry. Date and rate.
It's close.
Just like we was talking about calling kids, now I call them names. Alrighty.
All
You
right.
wanna-
All right, and we had put on here as well to see if Mr. Durbin would like to add any context on this before we move to public comment. And we do have one person who has signed up for public comment on
Is
this
that
issue.
me?
It is you, sir.
No, I'm not gonna speak to
Okay, then we have no people signed up for public comment.
that. I had some other things to talk about, but I'm not gonna. Don't look like y'all wanna talk about that now.
Okay.
I want to.
Okay.
Are you waiting for this or? So you know, we're moving Supervisor Cox from the computer to the phone. So that's what the delay is here, just a moment.
Gotta close the laptop.
Hello.
There you go.
All right, sir. Well, we were waiting.
Alrighty.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cox. So now,
Thank you.
if it's all right, we'll ask Mr. Durbin to go ahead and give a little explanation on this.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, you have before you a proposed ordinance to change the date for the first installment of the annual real estate taxes, to move that date from June 5th of each year to June 26th of each year. I want to emphasize what is up for consideration tonight has nothing to do with the tax assessment, and the board has no authority to determine the value of someone's land. That's not a function of the board, and that's not for discussion tonight. Also, we're not setting a tax rate tonight, just changing the due date for the first installment of those real estate payments. Pursuant to Virginia Code Section 58.1-3916, you have the authority to establish the date or dates for collection of local taxes, and this includes the authority to provide for payment of taxes in one lump sum or in two semi-annual payments. Since at least 2003, the county has provided for collection of real estate taxes in semi-annual payments with due dates of June 5th and December 5th each year. The proposed ordinance before you would change the due date for the first installment of taxes, changing that date from June 5th of each year to June 26th, giving citizens 3 more weeks in which to pay that first installment. The December 5th due date for each year will remain unchanged by this ordinance. The purpose of the amendment is really twofold. One, it gives the county board of supervisors and staff, as well as the treasurer, a little more time to complete all the necessary steps for finalizing a proposed budget, advertising the budget, holding the necessary public hearings, and getting the tax bills out in a timely manner. And two, it does have the benefit of giving the citizens 3 more weeks before that bill is due. We've seen it become more and more common in the last 10 to 15 years, I'll say, that the General Assembly is not finalizing the state budget until later in the cycle. This often requires special sessions for the General Assembly to come back and finalize their budget numbers. And this makes it difficult for localities, including Floyd County, to finalize their budget because so much of the local budget is dependent on what the state does each year. In order to know how much your local contribution will be for schools, constitutional offices, etc. So this has compressed the budget cycle for localities, giving you less time to act. And the purpose of this is just adding a few more weeks into the cycle before that first payment is due to allow you to go through the necessary steps of, as I said, holding the public hearings, giving the public notice, and adopting the rate, and then getting the tax bills out in a timely manner. So that's really what we're doing. We're just moving from June 5th to June 26th, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
What about the December one?
Questions from the board?
The December one still says it's December 5th, right?
Yes, December 5th, which is the default day under the Code of Virginia, whether you're collecting it twice or once a year.
And there's no penalties and interest on this additional 3 weeks. It's, the
No.
citizens have 3 more weeks to pay the bill.
You're correct. You're changing the due date, and because the taxes are not due, if this is adopted, they're not due until June 26th. There's no penalty and interest for a timely payment made by June 26th.
And I guess as far as we know, sometimes the treasurer does allow payments and payment plans and such stuff as that will continue. This has nothing to do with
This-
any of that.
Doesn't change any of the treasurer's authority.
Anybody else? Good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
You have one question, if I may, of Steve. Now, some ordinances, you have to wait a certain wait period before adoption. Does this date one have that same apply?
No, you're talking about when you're setting a tax rate or
rates and
approving a
stuff.
budget. There's not a waiting period just to
So
move the date.
if we decided we wanted to go ahead and set it, we could do it sometime tonight.
You could act tonight.
Okay. Sorry, sir.
Can I ask how we came up with the 26th and not the 25th? Keeping it with the 5s?
3 full weeks.
Okay.
That's what was done, is extending it for 3 full weeks.
This year.
So we didn't have anybody from the public to speak.
No. Mr. Vest was the only one who'd signed up and then he changed his mind.
No more questions? No, Levi, you good?
Talk to her.
You good, Levi?
Yeah, no question. No questions.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll declare the public hearing on the tax date change. Closed. All right. So that will move to public comment. It is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of handicap conditions, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made. When you come to the podium, state your name, the district you're from, limit it's 4 minutes, and it is a one-way conversation.
All right. Well, the first person that has signed up was Mr. Vest, and I gather he's left. He's gone, so. Coy Mitchell, is that correct? And if you would, you come up, go ahead and state your address and your district, please, Mr. Mitchell.
Coy Mitchell, I live on Allen Ridge Road in the Valley District. My problem I'm here with today is this tax rate, this tax assessment. Taxes in our general neighborhoods went up 75%. For what? Steep land you can't build on. I don't know who these tax assessors are, but they need to be found some new ones. And also I have a problem with what some of this money's going for. I don't think we need this bank building. Now you find out that the elevator don't work. I know this radio system that the county's considering, a bunch of money's been dumped into it, we're no closer to getting it now than we was a while ago. I think there needs to be some checks and balances, and I don't think money should be spent as free as what it's being spent on. This needs to be run as a business. Y'all are taxing business real hard, especially us farmers. And if tax rates keep going up and something don't happen, there's gonna be a whole lot less farms and a whole lot more opportunity for houses, and then problems will start in this county. Because fire departments needs trucks, ambulance services, they ain't got enough people to keep it going. Many times for example, they had 4 and 5 calls, only 2 teams to cover. Halftime or more, Ryder don't come out when requested for mutual aid. You're lucky if you can get a truck out of Roanoke County to cover the northern end of this county because they don't have staff. This is gonna keep getting worse and worse. Like I said, I think this needs to go back to being run as a business. 2 of y'all I know's got farmland, knows what I'm talking about. These tax rates is making it harder and harder. Especially a 70% jump at one time. That's uncalled for. And even if y'all at a 70% increase, raise it 1 cent, that's gonna be a whole lot of money coming into this county. And I'd like to see it spent on the important things. School, sheriff, fire, rescue. Rest of it's frivolous. Because that's the stuff we need. I don't know how it's all gonna be addressed, but there's gonna have to be some changes made somewhere. Or there's gonna be a whole lot more people in a whole lot worse shape. People's on limited income, trying to make a living at farming with all the other expenses we've got to deal with. And the landowners aren't the ones that's using the resources of this county as much as the people that's in here is using it as a bed and breakfast. I think they need to be charged more for being a bed and breakfast, and they're the one using more services than we are. That's all I've got for now. Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell. Next is Mr. Jack Wall, Little River District.
I'm Jack Wall, 288 Yarrow Way, Little River District. Last year, I participated in the Virginia Rural Leadership Institute. It's a program that the state of Virginia put together years ago to bring together leaders from rural communities to look at various kinds of activities going on in rural areas of the state that have done some interesting and innovative kinds of things. They participate generally around the Danville area. They have a 3-day or 4-day program there. They go out to Bristol, Abingdon. We spent 4 days in the Stanton, Augusta area, and then we also were in Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck. When we were up in Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck, one of the presentations that was made was by one of our state representatives. Delegate Keith Hodges made a presentation. Keith Hodges is an interesting guy. He's in the 68th district up in Essex County and a few of the areas around there. But he made a presentation about the interest of our society in developing more energy, more basically solar panels, solar farms. Because his point of view is, as well as 2 points of view he has about it. For one thing, we have a need to increase our electric energy production greatly. We got to have at least a 50% increase in the amount of electric energy we're creating over the next basically 5 to 10 years. Data centers and that kind of thing. But he also, coming from a rural area, he sees rural counties kind of being screwed by the whole system and not knowing how to advocate for themselves. He told a story about a solar farm that he helped negotiate with a power company. In which, because the power company, Keith Hodges is a very smart guy, and he's really studied this thing. And in fact, I'd need to get a hell of a lot more information from him than what he was able to provide in 20 minutes. But he was able to get the county that he worked with, I think it was Essex County, but they put a solar farm in. But the county, he was able to negotiate for the county to get $2 million of payment by the power company in order to get permission to put that solar farm in. So that county got $2 million over each year for 10 years in exchange for allowing the power company to put that solar farm in. So this is a lot of clean energy that we really need. Solar energy is way more efficient than any other form of electricity you can get. I mean, it's like one of the guys that we were talking to, he said that to put in a solar farm with all the batteries and everything is 40% less expensive than putting in a natural gas energy production system. But anyway, the only thing is we know that rural counties have to deal with that. I'd like to see a little bit of a study being done for that, and Keith Hodges is a guy who really knows a lot about this, so I'd like to, see if we could follow up more with him and learn about how that could benefit. We need money in this county, and that's the way, and what he's saying is that's the way to get revenue coming into the county, because power companies make a lot of money off of these things being developed. Thanks.
Edward? Daryl?
Hello, my name is Darrell Edward Underwood. Like I said earlier, I've got properties in all 4 districts. My property taxes, I live close to Coy, and they went up 75%. My home went up $250,000 for a house that was built in the 1800s. I do not understand that. So I called and they said the reason it went up was we had so much increase in property sales in the county over the last 5 years, which I can understand that. But why are they taxing everybody else in the county so high? And I'd like to know what all this extra money is going to go for that is going into our revenue for taxes. I mean, like Coy said, we need rescue squads, fire department, EMS, VDOT, Sheriff's Department. We need all these people. And if we're going to vote like for the other thing that we was talking about earlier, we're going to have to up all this. And I don't know how this county is going to do that. I mean, it is going to be very hard to dedicate all this extra revenue to what needs it. And like Coy was saying about the EMS calls and stuff like that for the fire department, rescue squad, the police department, that has been in the works for 3 or 4 years. And we have paid, I know of 3 lawsuits over somebody in the county not following through with what they're supposed to be doing. And we've got stuck with these bills through lawsuits. So that may be something that y'all want to check into with the administrators and stuff like that in the county. Thank y'all.
Edward Underwood, thank you for that. I wrote down Edward, she wrote down Underwood. We didn't put them together. So
Daryl.
thank you, Daryl. Thank you. Robert Wilson?
Robert Wilson, Locust Grove, 548 Timberline Road. Hey, Leadfoot, sorry you're not here today. I miss you. You keep laughing, Linda. Okay, I also want to talk about the,
He's on a delay.
I also want to talk about the new appraisals. I just had my home appraised last week, and it came in at $100,000 less than y'all did, okay? I know y'all don't do it, but the company you hired, and that's, everyone knows property values didn't go up this much. I want to talk about two real estate deals. Several people have mentioned that we have two realtors, Linda and Levi. I also talked to the appraiser, and he said that the property values went up because so many new properties were bought in the county. My question is, what about the properties that went up drastically, like Floyd Fest, and the real estate that he purchased to be a parking lot? Now, Linda, I understand that you showed Mr. McBroom a lot of property around here. And I understand you were a guiding force in the selection. I'm wondering if you should have recused yourself from any of the votes. Levi was involved in the parking lot deal. And apparently the seller of the land came to him, which is perfectly normal as a real estate agent. I'll bet my family has sold more property than you and Levi combined. But since he was representing the seller, Linda came in pretty quickly with McBroom, which shows a prior relationship. I don't think Mr. McBroom just came to you out of the blue. So my question is, if you didn't recuse yourself, why didn't you recuse yourself? To me, that shows a lack of ethics. I'm not upset with Levi, I'm upset with you, because you're the one that brought McBroom into the whole situation. I think the Board of Supervisors should have some ethics. And Linda, I don't think you measure up. I'd like to see you step down due to a lack of ethics. Thank y'all. Good to see you. See you, Leadfoot. I'll take questions from the board. If he can take questions, I'd be happy to take questions.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, the next person that signed up was Eli Schwartz Corolla, sorry.
You can call me anything. I gotta take these kids to bed. Hey, I appreciate everybody's time. This is redundant to what you all already know, I'm sure. Just want to say that Appalachian Power did an incredible job responding to the disaster that happened out in Czech especially. I don't know what hit different parts of the county. When I drive through the county and you get out parts of Locust Grove and out to Czech, Locust Grove District and out to Czech, it looks like a bomb went off in places. AEP did wonders. I can't even believe how quick they got things back. On the other hand, I don't know where VDOT is. People say they're seeing them some, but the roads are dangerous. If you drive down the road, there is limbs and debris still out in major roadways, like Bethlehem Church Road. You have to go into the center line to get around debris still. If AEP can do it on these power lines that are in the middle of nowhere, VDOT should be able to do it on roadways. We need to bring people in from somewhere else. We need to do something to fix these roads for safety's sake. And I guess I'm harping on VDOT tonight. I'm sorry, VDOT. In general, they do a great job with our roads. I'm impressed, and I feel like they listen when we call. They know that we're serious when we say there's a road that's dangerous. Linda, I'm sorry to bring this up in the board, but I've been calling VDOT since November 15th for one road in particular, Dobbins Farm Road. Dobbins Farm Road is in Locust Grove District. It's a Little River District. It dead ends about mile and a half, 2 miles down. And when I call them, usually they realize that we don't have too long because we have a lot of residents on a gravel road that's highly used. It has a number of springs that come up in the road that cause repeated potholes. Some of these potholes are wider than your car, so you cannot go into the other lane to get around them. To their credit, when I complained after one of the thaws, it had already been a month and a half or 2 months, they hadn't come to scrape the road. And I said, these potholes are gonna ruin our cars and they're gonna cause a wreck. So they came out with what I think is ground up asphalt. And they spread it over the potholes because it was so muddy, they couldn't use gravel. They were trying to figure out what to do. They used this ground up asphalt. Well, it has turned the edges of the pothole to asphalt. Now when you hit these potholes, it shakes the frame of your car and will knock your dentures right out of your mouth. And no matter how slow you go down this road, these potholes are too deep and too wide. And there are numerous places on that road that if you go to avoid them, you risk life and limb of causing a wreck, going around a blind corner on the wrong side, or slipping over the edge. So I guess I'm a little bit upset with VDOT, and I don't know what we can do to help them understand that maybe they need to call people in from somewhere else like AEP does for the emergency aspect of the response. And for the maintenance, I don't know. We had an issue with this road in relationship to the Postal Service this year. And that's been solved, which is wonderful, but I don't know if VDOT is somehow upset about that and so they're neglecting the road, or what's going on, because we've never been 3 months of calling, right? I started calling more than 3 months ago, but the road was already bad. So we need to do something there, and I don't know what you all at the Board of Supervisors can do, but I have called every level of VDOT repeatedly, and we need help because there's elders down there and somebody's gonna get hurt, and I don't wanna see it be really anybody when it was preventable. So, thank you for your time, and I gotta take the kids to bed, so, good night. Thank you all.
Mr. Chair, that was the last person that signed up to speak.
Okay. With that, I will declare the public comment closed. And we'll move down to old business, I guess.
That is correct. So, Ms. Judith, I think the only thing you have under your old business is, if you wanted to move forward with a vote on the tax date change ordinance.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve the date change from June 5th until June 26th for the due date for taxes with the ordinance that we had presented.
I'll second.
All right, sure. Go ahead and call the roll. On the motion to approve the ordinance to amend the June payment date for real estate taxes in the county of Floyd, moving the due date from June 5th to June 26th on a permanent basis. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
On to our new business.
On a new business, so as you know, we originally said land division ordinance as an action item. Don't know if you guys are done with talking about that for now, and we can just move to B, if that's all right? Okay. Which is the state, declare the state of emergency ended. And Steve was kind enough to bring copies of this.
Thank you.
As if Ms. Chair, if I might, as you all know, there was the state of emergency was declared on the 12th day of February 2025 pursuant to Virginia Code Section 44-14621, and issued a declaration of local emergency, which was confirmed by resolution of the board subsequently on February 13th. And so, of course, this would declare that it is ceased. So we can close the book on that, and then I can talk about some of the follow-up steps in my presentation.
You ready?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution ending the declaration of local emergency due to severe winter storms as presented.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. On the motion to declare the end of the declaration of emergency due to severe weather storms earlier this month, as presented, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, great. Next, you all recall we added the MS multiple sclerosis proclamation and added it as an action item.
Yeah, right here.
You must have come in, I didn't shut mine
It's
down.
right here. Yeah.
That's standard.
Yeah, you ready? Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this declaration for the Multiple Sclerosis Education and Awareness Month being March of 2025. Here in our packet, it says 2023, but I'm sure that it was a typo and it should say 2025.
Right before the first whereas.
On the title.
On the title. So this proclamation, it might have been what just got put in here, I don't know, but it says March 2023, and then inside the third whereas, it has 2024, and that should
Okay.
read 2025.
Correcting it right now.
So you have 2025 at the bottom. So with those changes, I make that motion, Mr. Chairman?
I'll second.
Motion second, go ahead and call roll.
Okay. On the motion to approve the proclamation announcing the month of March as Multiple Sclerosis Month in the County of Floyd, and with those corrections as noted. Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, with that, we have board time. Anybody got anything?
Let Levi go first.
Yeah.
Levi, you have anything?
I'm good.
Yeah. I'd like to address some of the concerns about the property taxes and the assessments. There is a lot of confusion. We're required to do these property assessments every so often by state code. The board does not approve any of the assessment values. We simply hire the appraisers and then it goes on out of our hands. Property taxes, we're required by state code to not increase our overall revenue from the property tax bucket more than 1% from last year's income. So if the revenue for the county was $100 for the taxes, it cannot be more than $101 for the taxes. So your tax does not go up hand in hand with the assessment. The mill rate will come down, so our overall revenue is not more than 1% more than it was last year. That's state code. That's automatic. After the assessors have done their business and the hearings have taken place, appeals to the Board of Equalization have happened, then the next constitutional department does their stuff, and then the revenue, projected revenue is brought to us. That's our role in it. But your property taxes, the bill does not go up hand in hand with the values. So if your tax was $100 last year, it's not gonna be $200 if your property value doubled. Rest assured that that's not the intention of the board, to lower the tax rate to follow state code and then increase the taxes. That's not the intention of our spending habits. We are very aware that our properties are really high, our property values, and our overall income as people, of citizens of the county, is very low. It puts us in a bad position for our school funding, which hopefully is resolving now, but the LCI for our school funding from the state is based on property values, not on local citizen income. So it puts us in a bad spot for our school revenue. It's a really hard balance to strike between what we need to spend and not raising taxes. I know that I have not voted for a tax increase because I can't afford it. I've been in a state where your taxes go up hand in hand with the property values, and I had to sell my house, and that was not fun. It was a very hard personal time, and to sell my house at that time was very traumatizing for my young son who is now without a father, because I couldn't afford to pay my property taxes. So I know what it feels like, and I'm very aware of that. But rest assured, your taxes do not go up hand in hand with your values. I think that's it.
Yeah, I know that the citizens of the Little River District who have elected me 3 times understand that I have a moral and ethical compass, and whenever I feel that I may, due to my different jobs that I have any concerns, I can tell you that Mr. Durbin receives a phone call from me, and we discuss at length what I am doing and how I am doing it, and has on numerous occasions contacted the board in Richmond to make sure that how I conduct myself is appropriate. I appreciate somebody in another district looking out for me, but as far as I'm concerned, I do the job that I was elected by the citizens of the Little River District to do. Also, I do want to make sure that people understand that the only way our property taxes have gone up is the MLS service that realtors use. That is how our assessors get value on properties. So there have been many different sales within this county that realtors haven't been involved with and have increased property values, but they have not gone in to this assessment. Only publicly sold lands that have been on the MLS are what the assessors pull from. Just for clarity purposes, I know that the man who was here explained that to us one night meeting ago. So I can lay my head on the pillow at night knowing that I do the job for the citizens of my district as well as most of the county. So just thought I'd mention that.
I'll just say this, and it's been said before, as far as what the assessments end up, we don't control that, but our state representatives do.
Yeah.
The assessors has to follow a set of rules and guidelines that's set down by the General Assembly. That's where they get their marching orders and what they look at. The sad part of it is, and it was mentioned a little bit, each locality is based on its ability to pay. The higher its ability to pay, the less money the state government sends in.
The perceived ability.
Perceived
ability to pay.
Yeah, perceived ability. And I don't know that our state elected representatives would be even inclined to change anything. But, reach out to Rim Williams and Mr. Stanley. They're our state representatives for our district. That's where it gets done. Unfortunately, we hire the assessors. We pay the bills at the end. We nominate people to serve on the, what do they call it? The Equalization Board. That's our role in it. That's it, as far as the assessment part. And I've served on this board a lot of years, and in an assessment year, we've tried to take it down to equalization as close as we can. But that doesn't mean that everybody's gonna pay the same amount as they did last year. You may have some that pay a little less, you may have some that pay a little more, you may have some that pay the same amount. We don't have the authority to go in and do this property right here and this property here. We have to do the broad picture. And I'm like you, I'm just like you, Coy. You know, we've got farmland, we've got farms, we're hit high. My 3 acres with my house was assessed at $77,000 this time. That's how much mine went up.
Yeah.
And I know why, because of some stuff that was sold out the road that by people from that owned it from outside this county. We've got people buying property in this county. They have no intention of coming here. They have no intention of doing anything. It's investment property.
Yeah.
And I don't have an easy answer for it. There is no easy answer. All we can do is try and bring that rate down to where it equalizes or as close as we can. Now, one thing that will help, this time it's been 5 years since we did the last assessment. The longer you go, the more the percentage. I've recommended, and I think
We're
the
not gonna do it again.
board's receptive. We need to do that in a shorter period so that at least cuts down some on the increase. But the sales is what's driving everything. And I'm sure every one of you, I know property that I've sold that should have sold for $3,000 an acre, they found somebody to pay 15. Because some of the people that move in here, where they move in from, $15,000 an acre, that's cheap land to them, because where they come from is $30,000 and $40,000 an acre. But for us, I know my personal experience, a piece of property we rented for years, I couldn't pay that amount to run cattle on it and mow hay for what it was bought for. I just couldn't. So not only did we lose some of that land, but that helped drive the price up for everybody. No, hush up.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm frustrated too. I just want them to know they're not the only ones.
Yeah, well, my taxes are
Mr. Chairman.
73%.
Levi's got something.
Go ahead, Levi.
Hey, I was just gonna, can I actually say something real quick? I said I wasn't going to, but if I can, real quick. I just wanted to take a quick second on a personal note. And I sent you all emails, but I just wanted to say thank y'all to the staff and my fellow board members for the prayers for my wife. I'm happy to report she's cancer free, and we just praise God for that report. But thank y'all for the prayers, and I know a lot of people experience this, but when something like this happens, you find out pretty quick just what a special community that you live in, and all the people who have reached out to us. It's just been a huge blessing, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And I just wanted to take a quick second publicly just to thank God and our community for the prayers for my wife. Thank you.
Like I say, my taxes went up, well, my taxes didn't, my assessment went up 73%. I sort of got a shock too when I opened up the bill and seen it. But I would like to back up about 2 years to when we acquired this building. The county was facing a big problem. I've been on the board for almost 13 years, or 13 years going on 14. Ever since I've been on the board, Richmond is telling us that social services outgrew their space. So we was else looking at buying a house somewhere, moving social services, going in debt, probably more than what we should have to build them a space. Then the judge decided that the courthouse got too small. So we was gonna have to make some changes there, or else we was gonna have to build a new courthouse, which would have probably cost the county about $25,000 or $25 million.
At minimum.
At minimum, it's probably more like
So
40 now.
good Lord blessed us, and here comes the bank building. So we was able to get it for a really, really good price, let's just put it that way. So by moving county administration building or offices here, we was able to turn in the old county administration building to social services. So they didn't have to find a new place. Even though the treasurer and commissioner is across the street, once this building over here is completed, we're gonna be able to move them back here. So everything will be here, which they will be downstairs, which will be more accessible to the public. You can walk in, you know, everything's done handicap accessible. So actually, by buying this bank building, we probably saved the county $20 million. So, at least. So I don't regret buying this building. I think it was a godsend. And I can imagine how much the taxes would have had to been increased if the judge had said, all right, build me a new building. And when the circuit court judge speaks, we gotta listen. So, Steve can address that, and I've spent enough years in law enforcement to know. When he speaks, you pay attention.
They're used to being listened to.
There you go, yeah. I remember my first year in law enforcement, the probation parole officer told me one day when we was talking about circuit court, he said, if that man asked you how to jump, you say, yes, sir, how high? You don't argue with him. Whatever he says, that's all, you do it. So, and they are capable of doing that. You can see that in Montgomery County with their new courthouse. That's because the judge said, I need a new building. So we actually saved the county a lot of money. We didn't have to go in debt. We was able to, you know, work out a deal with the bank. So we need this building. That's the only thing I can say.
And if I can just,
Go ahead.
and to put things in perspective, 1 penny on our real estate levy brings in about $180,000. So considering what the debt service would be on, if we got by with 25 million, penny in Montgomery County, the last I knew, was 1.2 million. So as we go into this, you can't compare one county's rate to another county because it's a difference of how much that penny is bringing in. But you can do the math. I mean, if you figure we're getting 180,000 per penny and figure if we got by with 25, I think it would have been more like 45. You can imagine what kind of tax increase we've been looking at. The way it worked out with this, we're just about sideways. I mean, really. So I just wanted to point that out about the tax levy and to get it out there exactly how much per penny comes in on that real estate levy. Now, I don't know what it'll be on the new, but currently we're bringing in about 180,000 per penny, give or take. So, not hush.
And we do take into consideration that this is turned into a retirement county. Yeah, there's a lot of people on fixed incomes, low incomes, and it's hard to justify raising any taxes because they know what we're doing to other people too. And we put a lot of thought into it. That's the reason we go through the budget line for line. Most counties just, county administrator presents them with a budget, they vote it in, and that's it. But we don't do that. We spend a lot of time running up and down the road for budget meetings, going through that budget one line at a time. We get our department heads to come in and talk to us, justify what they need to increase. Mr. Kitchen can verify that, you know.
I verify that.
Yeah, so, you know, we just don't do it haphazard. You know, we try to do the best we can for our citizens. Go ahead.
One other thing to address on the radio system. We are replacing the radio system. It did cost us 4.5 million. My opinion, this is radio system I helped buy in 1993 when I was on the board. That's what we're replacing. It should have been replaced in 2014. Had it been replaced then, it would have probably been more like $2 million. But things, I'm not judging other boards, they had to make their decisions. Right now, with our current radio system, we have about 50% coverage for our first responders. In other words, if a deputy goes down in one of these hollers and he needs backup, say it's a domestic call, he puts one in the front seat, one in the back seat, drives to the top of the hill to where he can get a signal. That's not safe. I know that. That's not safe for any of our first responders. If we have someone in the fire department that responds to a fire and it's down in one of these hollows, they gotta send somebody back to the top of the hill to call out in the secondary unit. That's taking people away. With this new system, if we're lucky, and we were shooting for 90% coverage, but the last number I saw was about between 80 and 85% coverage. So for that 4.5 million, we're getting right at 30% or better more coverage in this county for the safety of those those firemen, those EMS, the sheriff's office, the troopers, and everybody else. Does it cost a lot? Yeah, unfortunately. I was flabbergasted when I first got the number, but I just want you to know where some of your tax dollars is going and why. And I don't know of anything that I would consider frivolous as far as expenditures with this board. I can't think of anything. I mean, we try to reach out and we try and meet the needs. School system does not have an open checkbook. They don't always get what they want, but we try and make sure they get what they need. And it's the same way with the other departments in the county. I mean, there's been years where the requests come in, we would have had to raise the real estate levy 30 cents to meet what was requested. But as Joe said, we got into it, we go into it line by line, and we look at it, and we try and pick what we feel is the most important for that department. And talking to the department head, and this includes constitutional officers, what is your most important need? And we try and meet those. Right now, we're paying, is it 15 positions in the sheriff's department, or 14? That we're paying out of local taxes. 15, we're paying for 15 positions in the sheriff's department right now, that's coming totally out of your tax dollars.
And it'll be 16 due to the
It'll be
SRO.
if we pick up this SRO where the grant money stops, it'll be 16 positions in that office. So I don't think we've turned our back on any of these people. They may not have always got everything they asked for, but we try and make sure they have the essentials of what they need.
Put in perspective what he was talking about, these radios. I started working for the sheriff's department in 1976. I'm an old folk, you know. When I was out in Indian Valley, if I was out to Bones Mill or Brays Creek, I'd have to go through Pulaski County if I was trying to get a hold of Floyd. We were knocking jowls out of the seat over there because they could hear us, but with the same frequency. I would have to get them to relay for me. If I went out on Wreck Ridge, down Fisher's View, Bat Creek, back in there, I would have to go through Roanoke County. And when you working by yourself on midnight shift out here and you got a carload of drunks that's wanting to fight, that relay takes a lot of time and you doing a lot of negotiating during the time. So now the officers are more safe because, like Jerry said, we're not 100%, but we're a lot better than we was.
Will be,
And,
we will be.
we will be.
And
Because officer safety and the safety of the citizens of this county is our prime, goal, really.
And the other 15% that's not covered, we're actually exploring using the fiber network that citizens put in to try and set up a relay into those areas.
Yep.
To where it will go to a repeater, then come in. So it'll have a little delay, but it won't be like calling Roanoke and then waiting on them to call back. So.
Especially if they got something going.
Now, that's not part of this 4.5 million, that's gonna have to be another expense. But we're trying to do it in the sections where, I guess, where we can stand it as citizens. We can't jump in and do everything that needs to be done at one time.
Just radio systems taught us a lot too, because I thought, go up on the Buffalo, fill up a tire and you got the county covered. Nope. Yes. You go over on Indian Ridge, put up a tire, you got that end covered. No. Danny can explain it better than I can. That radio says it bounces off everything. It gets in its way. And when you got the backside of Buffalo, it's ricocheting all your radio waves. It takes time to build them, it takes time to get the tires. I think what we need, 5 tires to get.
That's what we're shooting for right now.
Yeah.
Takes
But
time
we-
to get the land,
Yeah.
put
We
the
can get
towers
the
on.
land, yeah.
So with that, I'll move on. Yes, you got something to say?
Maybe I'll go to the podium. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to follow on with a clarification on something that Supervisor Bechtold said, because I think I might have been the source of that information, so I just wanna be sure that I'm clarifying that. Supervisor Bechtold is correct that in a reassessment year, you are supposed to set the tax rate at a level of funding that will be equal to or no more than 1% above what you realized in last year's tax rate. Unless there is a special procedure you can go to if you find it necessary to raise taxes beyond that 1%. You have to hold a public hearing. It's gotta be a separate public hearing from the normal budget hearing. It's gotta be publicized separately in the newspaper. It's gotta be posted here at the courthouse and on the website. In the newspaper, it's gotta run with 18-point font. And it can't be said in the, where the legal notices are, it's gotta be set out in the general section of the newspaper. It's gotta spell out the increase precisely. You've gotta publish what the equalized rate would be if you were going to 100% equal funding. And then you publicize the effective rate of the increase and then propose what the total proposed budget increase would be. So there's a lot of transparency there. The citizens will be well informed. You can't just sort of, you can't do a tax increase by the back door. You're limited to 101% of what you took in last year. So I just wanted to clarify that in case some citizens had questions about that.
Those are the normal steps of a tax rate increase, the public hearing, the publications and all that stuff.
Right, and then this is a separate measure, like in a non-assessment year, you've got to publish notices and
But this is just more public notice.
more notice separately, it can't be done in the same public hearing, so it's a more involved process.
If everybody's done, I'll move on from board time and let Dr. Millsap head the forward there.
All right. And there's one quick thing I didn't put on the list, that I wanted to mention to you all that, this morning.
One more thing.
One more thing, I take your line, yes. So this morning, I met with Andrew Morris, the town manager, and our tourism director, Kathleen, and then two folks from the chamber to talk about what is our mutual thought going forward around tourism, the visitor center. Thank you very much.
See y'all.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. And so wanted to let you all know that that conversation has started, as you know, over time. The role of all those organizations has shifted in terms of who is driving what and all of that. So we talked about what hours there should be at the visitor center, where the future location of the visitor center might be. And continue to emphasize what you all have shared, of course, that making sure town stays strong and stable is very important. But we would also like to see even more efforts at supporting our tourism enterprises that are outside of the town limits. So wanted to let you know all about that. Moving to this, so the first two items you'll see, of course, are related to the storm. So we're kind of gonna have, I wanted to let you know, two separate essentially ways of looking at what did we learn out of this, what can we do better going forward. So I would list kind of the first one there is the stuff that mostly comes more through me and the chairman, and serving in his role of emergency management director. So next steps, just wanted to let you all know, you all have in your mailbox an email I sent to Senator Stanley following up on some of our thank yous and concerns. Thank you. And so in terms of thank you was for the assistance of the water and the MREs. But
wave to me too?
Thank you. But thank you. Despite that thank you, we continue to have some concerns and that we would like to discuss those. So wanted to take up those. Wanted to encourage folks that are listening that it is really important to sign up for the county's emergency notice. And when you do it, be sure to also list your cell phone, because one of the biggest lessons learned for me, I will say, out of the storm is if your phone is run through broadband and your power goes out, you don't have a phone, which means you're not getting the alerts from the county about what's happening. And so we'll meet with citizens and see if there's some other thoughts. Some of the board members have shared some things they have learned as well. So I'll pull all of those kind of things together in one set of lesson learned. Which then moves me to the second item, which we will also have a formal after action review, and that's an actual thing that has to be done, driven again by emergency management, and that'll include all the first responders and the folks that are outlined in our emergency document. That hasn't happened yet because Kevin Sowers, who is over this effort, has unfortunately been out with COVID for some time, so hopefully he'll be back soon and we'll be able to take that up. But wanted folks to know, if you have things that you feel like you would like to see done differently, better, or have great ideas, please feel free to send those to me and I will fold them into this process. Next, wanted to talk about, let you all know, I met, I guess last week, with the president of Radford University and their head of economic development and business assistance. And so we talked through a number of ways that I think we will be able to utilize the resources of Radford University to help us with a number of topics, including economic development, and maybe bring an intern in around that to support Ladina and Tabitha a little bit. Also, to potentially bring in an intern under Parks and Recreation to help particularly during the summer months. And then they also have some groups that take up, it's a group of multidisciplinary students, so kids that are studying a lot of different things. Are put together in a team to try to address what they call wicked problems, so more challenging things. And so some of those have been housing, and we've also talked about some other things. So I will follow up with them, but they're very excited to partner with us, and they did remind me that they have a very large portion of their student body is there from Floyd. And I told them part of why I wanted them to work with us is to do all we can to help them, encourage them to stay in Floyd and hopefully maybe build into employment with a business or something in Floyd over time. So I want to let you know I've done that. Also did a meeting last week at the Regional Commission, looking at the opioid abatement ecosystem, the next year of grant funding from the state. And so we heard presentations every 15 minutes for 3 hours from different groups that felt like they had a good solution to put on the table. Some of those may end up as things that are gonna be covered in the program, others may not. But we're gonna take it up next month with all of the county administrators and kind of put together what needs to be included in that proposal. So that's where we are, and so if there are other ideas that you all have in particular, please let me know. FOIA update, I usually don't update you on our FOIAs, but we did get one recently from the folks on the other side of the opioid abatement settlements. And so they are blanketing Virginia with a number of requests related to particularly when this started. So Kim and her staff went down and spent quite a bit of time going through the old green file cabinets to see what we could find. We've gone through some electronic files, but most of this is reflective of years before the hack. Sorry?
Yeah, I may have to dig my Tupperware tub.
Yeah, you might have to, so Kim has helped us put together a package of things. It's very limited, but we've given to Steve. We now are kind of hearing that there's an effort to push them back. Everyone is saying you're gonna have to pay because of course we charge people for that. In some other counties, what they have is pretty extensive, and so the charges are large. So we're starting to see some movement there, but wanted to let you all know that that's going on. EMS update, met this morning with our EMS chief, Dustin Thomas, and we had Kevin on the phone, kind of talk through several events and also what our future plan is in terms of being able to start opening the Indian Valley site on a regular basis. So our plan is to have Indian Valley staffed once we're able to have enough staff, 8 or 12 to 8 p.m. and that's how we would start is that 8-hour shift, which would also allow us to utilize some part-time folks that we have that we believe would be interested in doing that in particular. They did share with me that in terms of where the calls come from, we do get around 60% of our calls come from essentially town and a 15-mile radius outside of town. So as they're looking at how we distribute that, we're gonna move the line a little bit on probably having more of the calls. We'll move the line about how close to town you are and still get service out of Indian Valley. So there will be some movement there, and we'll bring you some maps when we get there, but just to let you know. Interestingly, in town, again, just kind of data points for you all, we also get between 60 and 70% of our calls in between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. And that's somewhat unusual. So there's some things there we're gonna dig into. When we looked at the data about people calling from the Indian Valley section and what will be the expanded Indian Valley section, there does not appear to be a true pattern there. But we do have a pretty heavy pattern of mornings in town, so wanted to let you know about that. But we continue to do cleanup and repair work in those various locations. Fortunately, at Station 4, they've done a terrific job of continuing as long as they had it, keep it up really well. We have had some challenges with the generators at a couple of the sites. So we're working through that and we are going to, we're having folks come out on that. We've also had some challenges about propane up in Chick, but we've taken care of that now. So I wanted to give you all an update on that. I understand some folks are starting up the conversation again about being able to maybe do something about a slaughterhouse. So I knew, I knew.
That got your attention, didn't it?
It did. I can't go into much more than that because it is a private enterprise conversation, but did want to let you all know they put in a lot of effort. That idea continues to be something of interest and has perked the interest of some folks in town that, in the area that would really like to see that happen. Don't know if it will, but when it's appropriate, we'll let you know, and Ladina and I will do our best to support it as much as we can from our roles. Finally, I wanted to put on here a water supply planning meeting, which I'm going to tomorrow. And oddly enough, for some reason, the state decided that this year, they moved our regions, and so for whatever reason, but we can petition to get moved back. So that is my intent. That's the same face I made, ma'am.
So what's the region?
So
Switch.
we have been moved out of what is our traditional New River Valley, so which under the new program includes Pulaski, and it doesn't include Montgomery for a variety of reasons, but it does include Radford, Giles, our normal folks. They have, for some reason, the state regulators have moved us to be in a group with Galax and Wythe County, Wythe County and Gracie. And so, yes, so I am going to the meeting tomorrow morning. It's at 10 in Galax. And to hear the rest of this, but I wanted to let you know because there is a petition process, so I will learn more about that tomorrow. And my assumption is that I will either, depending on the timing, send you all an email, or if we can delay until the next meeting, have a conversation, but wanted to make sure that you all knew there's this possibility out there and that we would like to get that fixed.
Water up your way goes up to Big Reed, then that hits New River and goes that way. Why in the world would they?
Well, and that's part of what we're trying to figure out.
Wythe comes into
But it
the
comes
river,
in from
it
the other
comes out
way.
the west side.
We don't go toward them,
But if the water supply is similar to what ours is, that would make the difference.
I guess.
Maybe.
Well, the only thing when Ladina and I talked about this today, the only thing that she could think of is the type of stone is different. But that doesn't necessarily
From
I
the
consider her of people on staff, she is clearly our biggest water.
Standpoint, or
Yes.
however you say it. Oh, okay.
Right, but in terms of actual water supply, it is your staff's opinion that based on what we know now, it would make more sense to go ahead and petition and move. But I'll go tomorrow, meet with DEQ, see why they changed us and kind of go from there.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You said the
Thank
three
you.
magic letters right there.
DEQ? I did.
Interesting.
Is that your
So
last thing?
that is my last thing and
You do have one
I
more.
do have one more.
I may
That's
have
her
one more
last.
after you get done.
She may have one more too.
Well, her one more will take precedent over mine.
no, Kim was reminding me that we need to change our process just a little bit for correspondence.
Okay.
And so when unless you have questions for me, we'll move to that, but that was my one more thing.
And the ones that needs to hear this statement have already left. We did not shut down the volunteer rescue. They came to us, they said that they couldn't operate anymore the way they were with the requirements and stuff, and asked to be incorporated into our program. And I wish the people that got that a little wrong were still here. We've supported volunteer rescue for years. Ever since that, whoever sat at this table since its inception in 74.
50 years ago.
Yeah, 74. Even before that, with the discussion in 72 with the ones like Sheriff Akers and Mr. Mayberry and Mr. Wood that used to transfer people in their hearses to the hospital without medical attention. We have agreements now that are public record and anybody can look at them. They did have some things they wanted us to do in East Station where it would honor the history of the people that are involved with it and that has been involved. We've agreed to that. We didn't shut anybody down. And I've run across a few people in the community. I mean, the Floyd Press did a story on it, Channel 7 did a story on it, picked it up. I mean, I don't know where they've been, but, used to be you listen to the hairdresser and the barber. Now it's social media. If it's on social media, it's gotta be true. Well, that's not.
It's easy to sit behind a keyboard and not have the facts.
Well, nobody wants to be confused with the
I'd like to
facts.
add too, the volunteers that were active with the volunteer group, they were offered to come on with us, and some of them did come on, and we still take volunteers. You know, but it's under one roof now, but
But they have to meet the same qualifications, unfortunately, as the paid staff to be on. So,
I know a lady that keeps spreading this information and she's in a position to know better, but I will take it up with her boss, cause
I don't understand it, but,
on a lighter note, if you're done.
oh yeah,
So,
I know I said it was before, but
I've been having to ask you this, but like I say, I'm getting old, my computer don't compute like it should. I've had a number of people over the last 6 months. I know Farm Bureau brings a shredder truck around ever so often. But they don't feel like they got enough to take to the Farm Bureau. I was wondering, maybe we could research it, you know, it's down the road. But like our conference centers, like when we get the one at Willis. If maybe we could get a small shredder in a truck, and then people can bring their papers, when they bring their trash, what they want shredded, run it through that shredder. And, you know, cause a lot of people's got tax returns and, you know, stuff like that they just wanna get rid of. They don't wanna keep hoarding them up and then wait for Farm Bureau, because they may not be able to make it that day. But if you got one where you can move around to different sites, and maybe let them know when it's gonna be at that particular site.
have one of our employees
Right.
operating it.
Yeah, check on the liability of it, and, I mean, it don't have to be a huge one. You know, it just,
That makes portable ones.
and I figured that would be another asset to help the community out. Cause like I say, I've got people that's asked me that multiple times, you know. Anyway, I just wondered
I'll put that down.
why it was still on my mind.
Okay. Put that down.
So-
Well, and I have the similar problem, cause I actually do have one more thing. My computer was slow.
It's catching, Dre.
It is catching. But you're all talking about EMS reminded me, so, our folks, or 8 of our folks are going to a New River Valley training, March 1st and 2nd class. And that is actually sponsored by Dr. Patterson, but also several of the ER docs that are certified. And when they finish this class, we will have 8 folks who have gone through, and they will not only be paramedics, but be certified critical care paramedics. And so that will add an extra level of expertise.
That's great.
And so, as you know, we've got well over, dramatically more than half of our full-time staff and a large portion of our part-time staff are full paramedics. We still really appreciate the folks that are able to be basics and work with us, and the fire department folks that help out when somebody's sick and they can drive. So we do appreciate that, but they've been working really hard at trying to make sure that when those folks arrive, our EMS folks arrive, they can really provide you the best possible service on the spot. Because it's becoming more and more clear with emergency medicine that in many cases, the best solution is not necessarily put you in a truck and drive fast, although sometimes it is. But there are many things that now the best thing to do, given the technology we have and the direct connection to Dr. Patterson. And he talks to our staff at least 4 times a week on average. So if it's critical, he will be on the phone. He can get your EKG, the one from your bedroom on his phone, instantaneously. So this is all part of trying to make sure that the paid staff, when they arrive, they are fully outfitted to provide as much as possible. And that's my last.
When is that?
It's the end of this, well, it's March 1st and 2nd.
Can
So
we,
just soon.
just to save some problems, could we contact the fire department with the people there that are qualified to drive and at least maybe have some backup in case some of these people, you know, if these people are gonna be tied up in the class,
Yeah,
maybe get with the fire department and see if,
make sure they're
and that way,
available.
I mean, this gives them plenty of time. They can talk amongst themselves and see who on that time could make
Okay.
themselves available as
Good idea.
drivers.
Especially since it's the weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I do it.
Mr. Stanley's saying that if we note anything, no matter how small, let him know. I think this is a health and safety issue. All these roads on the east end, like the gentleman was talking about, where you got limbs stuck out.
Oh, yeah, we have it on my
That is
end.
a very
Yeah.
dangerous thing if a vehicle comes around and hits them. See
Yeah.
if they can sort of gig Richmond and get some extra VDOT crews or aspirin or any of these, yeah.
Do you know where VDOT's putting all the brush?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea where VDOT's putting all the brush?
I do not, but they can.
Okay, I will
yeah.
tell you. VDOT is putting all the brush, I kept seeing that black truck, that purple cab, black truck. It's been picking up stuff, fabricated, great engineering, welding job. But I was like seeing them all over the place and I kept figuring out where he went. Well, I was taking my trash and cardboard before the meeting and all of a sudden he turns down the Commerce Center Road. I'm like, what? So I finished doing my stuff, had a little extra time, I zip on down. So I'm driving down and there's really lots of stuff going on with our road, which was good to see. I get to the end of the road and here they are, just dumping all the brush. Now, what I understand is VDOT, remember, that is a VDOT right-of-way there, so they can dump it. But VDOT's putting all the stuff down there and then they're gonna chip it. Now, I don't know what they're gonna do with all the chip stuff, but right now they're moving it from one place
Take all
to,
they get.
so they're moving it from one place to another, but it sure would have been nice for us to have been alerted as to where you were putting, especially since we got all this construction going on. Now, granted, it's down all the way at the end, right
You
before the
talking about in
entrance.
the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, in the cul-de-sac, right next to where, Thomas Fabrication is, but it would have been nice, a phone call would have been nice.
Well, and I will say, so that is where VDOT normally puts the brush.
Okay.
And they had
This is a lot of
contacted,
brush.
yes, they had contacted me before, and we had agreed to do that, and part of why they do that is, of course, it's, to your point, their road.
Yeah, it's
So
their road.
Yeah, it's their road, so if they mess it up, it's not our expense. And they need it's better if it's on the asphalt for their machines, but then we called them back when AEP started sending the large number of trucks and said, so sorry, but you gotta find someplace else until the trucks are gone. Well, now the trucks are gone, and we have suggested some alternatives, but I don't know how that was suggested.
So, I don't know.
We've chatted.
Back on my road down there, about getting that cut back.
Mhm.
And it really blistered me when I heard this. You know, but I need 2 sources before I believe it. Came pretty straight, so I think he's pretty accurate. They said they could've got a lot more done if they didn't have to go to Montgomery County. That's our VDOT crews.
our local guys.
Yeah, our local guys. So I think Mr. Stanley or somebody needs to look into the fact that they need to get us some more help down here.
Have you been up to the landfill lately?
Nope.
Well, I watched the trash truck go around the curve at the bottom of the hill. They knocked the limbs back a little bit, but they still have to get in the other lane, just going over there at the bottom of my hill. And so if you got a tractor and truck, the trash truck going, big trash truck going out, or one of the others, dumpster trucks, and somebody coming in, they've been stopping at the bottom when they see them coming because the brush is sticking out so far.
Well, you think down the east end of one of our big box sandwiches has to go down through there pretty fast.
Oh, my.
And they just sort of forget, which I would do. You know, and they pop around the curve, they can take the side out of one of them sandwiches, one of them boxes and stuff like that.
They at least gonna take a buffalo off the side of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, you know, I just think it's a safety issue and they need to pay, you know, they said they wanna help us out, so, but you. I won't go there.
Okay, okay. Well, you saw the
Put up
email.
or shut up. This is.
You saw the email.
I'd be
But I'll
grateful
follow
for
up.
anything he does.
There you go,
That's
my
right.
name's Jimmy, you take all you give me.
Well, and if you don't mind, Kim needs to say one thing about correspondence before you go.
Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to make note in the correspondence folder, there were 5 emails sent by the community. And to state who sent them, Stephen and Patty, is it Bogus?
Bogus.
Bogus, okay, thank you. Judy Bryant, Mr. Schroeder.
Bryant.
Judy Bryant.
Bryant.
That's what I said, Bryant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've done talk to her.
Okay,
I'll have
Mr. Schroeder, Don Swartz, and Jeff Walker.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Judy was really nice.
Yeah. I thought her
So if
email
nobody's
was
got
real
anything
nice.
else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Bye, Levi.
See you, Levi. Have fun.
Sorry I
Work
missed
hard.
you, Levi.
Alrighty.